Hello and welcome to this little talk about how to find yourself. In the yoga tradition, the idea is basically that most suffering arises because we get out of touch with ourselves, because we create these mental constructions about what or who we are. And then when we get caught up in those, we get lost from what is most essentially ourselves. We get out of touch with reality. So the idea is we need to find ourselves, we need to realize ourselves, but there is the problem. The problem is that per definition, the self, the subject, is impossible to comprehend. It transcends our rationality, our thinking. We cannot sense it, we cannot feel it. So basically, the old yogis, they had a problem. They realized the need to find a way to find ourselves, but they also realized that the self is beyond our grasp. So it's basically like if you get into a car and you're being told to go to Grumpa, and you try to write it into the GPS and nothing comes up. And basically, what can you do? You sort of turn on the car and you sort of start driving around a little bit, but you have no idea where to go, what to look for, because you don't know what it is that you're looking for. You don't know yourself, and how can you find something? How can you seek something you don't know what is? And there are different strategies. Like more religious yogis, they would say, well, I will try to surrender to God, to the divine, and then ask for help. And other schools will try other strategies. And there are some really nice strategies out there. But the most famous one we find in a text called Yoga Sutra from the 4th century. In Yoga Sutra, basically, there is a solution to this paradoxical task, this problem, and it's stated in just 2 sentences. So Patanjali, he writes, Yogas chitta vritti nirodha, tada drastahu svarupe avastanam, which is Sanskrit and means yoga is to still the movements of the mind. Then the seer dwells in its own splendor, in its own nature. So what does that mean? Let's take it slowly. Yoga is to still the movement of the mind. Okay. So what happens if you can make your mind shut up? If you can make your mind quiet? What happens is all the mental constructions will dissolve. All your ideas about the world, all your ideas about yourself, all the roles and the personas that you've come up with, all the stories will dissolve. And then what? Then the second sentence, tada drastahu svarupe avastanam, then the seer dwells in its own nature. So basically, there are 2 things here. When all the roles, when all the stories about you disappear, when you're no longer the yoga teacher or the yogi or the man or the woman or the dad or the mom or something like that, when all that dissolves and sort of and falls away, then what is left is you. What is left is the subject, is your consciousness, which they call the seer. But Patanjali he's so cool here, because he doesn't say, then the seer understands itself, or then the seer sees itself, because that's not possible, because all you can see, all you can comprehend would be these objects, these stories about yourself and the world. So instead he says, then the seer dwells in its own nature. And this is actually very accurate of how it feels at the end of a yoga class. You know, one of those yoga classes where things sort of fit in place, and all of a sudden after the class, there is just peace. You just sit there or lie there And there's just that stillness. And in that stillness, there is not just peace, there is also like a deep sense of authenticity. Like you're so much you in that situation. And all the longing, all the thoughts about not being good enough, and if only I had that, and if only I was better at that, and if only I was younger or older or better looking or whatnot, all those thoughts have dissolved, and you can just basically rest in yourself. And that's what it is that he's talking about. So basically, one of the most fundamental strategies to finding yourself is not basically to find yourself, but to dissolve the stuff that prevents you from resting in yourself, from being at home in yourself. And thus, so many different schools of yoga, they emphasize the importance of calming down the mind. So I hope that made sense, and I hope you enjoyed listening.